In this video, we'll be going through simple trig functions. Basically, the different types of trig functions are sine, cosine, tan, cot, sec, and CSC. Each one represents a different type of function. So sine is opposite over your hypotenuse. Cosine is your adjacent over your hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. Cot is 1 over your tangent. And remember, your tangent is opposite over adjacent. Then you have sec, which is 1 over cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. Then CSC is 1 over sine, which is opposite over hypotenuse. Cot is 1 over opposite over adjacent. Sec is 1 over adjacent over hypotenuse. And CSC is 1 over opposite over hypotenuse. Next, you might be wondering, how do you find out the opposite, your hypotenuse, or your adjacent, right? So let's just draw a simple triangle. And let's just say it's a right triangle, so we have a 90-degree angle. And let's just say we have the angle of theta, right? Or you can call it x or a or whatever variable you'd like. Since this is just an example, we're going to use 3, 4, and 5. And we know that's correct because 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared, right? 9 plus 16 equals 25. So you know this is actually a right triangle. Now, we want to do, let's just say sine, cosine, tan, cot, sec, and CSC. Let's start out with sine. So going with sine, we know that it's opposite over hypotenuse. So we're going to do opposite. So now when thinking about your opposite, you're going to think the opposite of your angle. In this case, theta is placed right here, and we want to go to opposite direction of theta. So wherever it's pointing. And we know it's going to point to 4. So we know our numerator is the opposite, and in this case, our opposite is 4. So we're doing sine, and sine, your opposite is 4. Now we need to look for our hypotenuse. And our hypotenuse in this case is the longest side of our triangle, which in this scenario is 5. So we have 4 over 5, also known as 0.8. I like to leave it as a fraction. So we have 4 over 5 as our sine, right? Now we can do cosine. And we said cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. In this scenario, we have to look for our adjacent. Adjacent is what's directly next to our angle. In this scenario, we have to look at what's right next to it. In this scenario, it's 3. So since we're doing cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, and our adjacent, we said, is 3. It's right next to our angle. And then that's over our hypotenuse. And as we stated before, our hypotenuse is the longest side of our triangle. In this scenario, it's 5. So we have 3 over 5. Next, we have tan. And tan is basically, as we said before, opposite over adjacent. We already figured out from here, our opposite was 4, and our adjacent was 3. So basically, if we know your sine and cosine, you can just do 4 over 3. Now we're going to go on to cot. Now, as we said, cot is 1 over tan. And we said tan was opposite over adjacent. So if we go and look back at our tan, which was 4 over 3, we just need to put a 1 over it. So we have 1 over 4 over 3. All right? Next, we're going to go to SEC, or sec. And we said sec is 1 over cosine. So we can just look at our cosine, which we determined was 3 over 5. And we just put a 1 over it. So we have 1 over 3 over 5. Lastly, we have CSC. And that was, as we determined, 1 over sine. And sine was 4 over 5. We just put a 1 over 4 over 5. 1 over 4 over 5. And that is basically all the basic trig functions. I hope this video helped. And if it did help, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.